Hello and welcome to a quick video about why the numbers in your Search Console are not the same as the numbers in the Search Console connector from Looker Studio. You would think this would be impossible, and yet it's not. It's pretty common. So we're going to jump into this and I'm going to talk you through the main reasons that this happens. We're going to look through the three primary reasons that this happens. And the first one is just you want to make really sure that you've connected the right property. It's probably not this if you've checked a couple of things, but it's just worth double checking because the other ones are a little bit more fiddly or harder to fix. And so if this happens to be the mistake you have made, you're going to save yourself so much grief. The difference here is and the thing that often catches people out is that a lot of things in Search Console look quite similar and they're displayed a little bit different in Search Console from Looker Studio. All of the screenshots in this video, I'm often going to show you where it would be in the interface and then just come over and show a screenshot. This is because I don't want to show customer data. I need a lot of this stuff to be anonymous. And so what I've done is I've taken screenshots and then anonymized it. So in Search Console, you'd come over and pop it over here. In Looker Studio, you just add a data source. The thing that will catch you out here, or that might catch you out, is that picking exactly the same one, these seem like they might be the same. The domain property seems like it might be the same as https www.example.com. It actually isn't. They're slightly different. This is going to match everything that begins with exactly this URL, where this is going to match everything that just matches this URL. And you might have some www or some non-www or some additional subdomains. All of that's going to be additional traffic in this one that won't appear in this one. And so if you happen to have selected SC domain over here, which is the same as the domain property, and you've selected example.com over here, they're not exactly going to line up. Again, it's probably not this, but this is a really easy one to fix. So just check if it is this one. If it's not that, we're going to move on to the next one, which is URL versus site level reporting. Search Console can either show you data at a URL level or a site level. We have a separate video. There'll be a little pop-up in the corner if you need that explained for you. If you don't need that explained for you, fantastic, keep on watching. If you do, go watch the video, come on back. So the problem here is that Search Console mixes up URL versus site level within this interface. And it changes also depending on how you use this interface, which is really, really confusing if you're just getting used to this. So this, by default, everything in here is going to show you site level numbers. So all of these numbers here are site level, with the exception of the Pages tab, which by very definition has to be URL level. Right, because site level doesn't have URL data in it at all. So that's the first thing. If you've gone into Looker Studio and you've added in, you come and pull this one over here, if you've added in URL impression sets of reporting, but you're trying to compare directly to these, by default, all of these are site level, so they just won't line up. That doesn't mean that Looker Studio is wrong and the search construct is showing you the wrong numbers. It just means it's showing you a different number. There's nothing to fix here. It's just pick the one that you want and be really careful to make sure you're comparing apples to apples. The other thing that will catch you out is by default, like I said, everything apart from Pages shows site level. That is, of course, unless we go in here and put on a page filter. As soon as we put on a page filter, it's now back to showing us all URL level data. So then all of the interface will convert to URL level data. This is pretty common if you filtered to perhaps a content subfolder or all of your product pages or something like that. At which point, if you're then comparing directly with URLs, fantastic. But if you're comparing with sites, it's not going to line up. In fact, you'll even find Search Console itself won't line up if you were to filter by all the individual sections of your site and trying to add up to the numbers here. That won't add up because all of those will show you URL level. The other one will show you site level. So that's the next big thing, URL level versus site level. Again, if that's your problem here, you don't actually have a problem. You just need to remember that by default, all of this is showing site level, except for the Pages tab. And whatever you pick in Looker Studio, just make sure you're comparing apples to apples. But that might still not be the problem. What you might have is something like this. So you might have gone and just added a table in Looker Studio where you've gone, okay, great, give me my Search Console data. This is from the Search Console reporting connector. And you might have said, fantastic, give me device category and show me the clicks. And because there's only 3 rows here, you might have looked at this and gone, okay, let's just add these up. This does not add up to 219,000. And you've only got 3 rows here. There's no additional hidden data. If we go and we export this again, if we go and pop this into a Google Sheet, let's just give this a minute. When we pop into here, we're going to see, okay, right, let's take all of these, sum them up, and yeah, it's 127,000. So where the hell is the roughly 90,000 additional clicks going? Now, the answer here is that they are just gone, unfortunately. Search Console has sampling, essentially. It has sampling that they don't really talk about. I think they actually might talk about it now. They didn't used to talk about it. Search Console has this soft level of sampling for what it will show you from the API. If you have a small site, you'll actually never bump into this. The piped out profile is still pretty small. We only get a couple thousand or so clicks a month. So you actually won't see it on this one. But if you're working on a really, really large property, if you're working on some of these ones that I've shown in the blog post, or some of them similar to our customers, where you've got hundreds of thousands of clicks, you've got millions of clicks, all of that sort of thing, you're absolutely going to hit it. There's essentially a soft limit of about 50,000 rows that the API will give you per day for anything. And yes, there really aren't that many. There's really no ways around that. Well, there's a couple of ways around that. That's what we're going to come on to. But as for the interface and Looker Studio, by default, there really is no way to fix that problem. There is no way to make this reconcile with this if you're just using the default reporting connector. If that's what's happening here, really what you have to come into here is just with the knowledge so you can explain it to somebody else. What's happening here is there's this cardinality, essentially, sampling issue, where it's taking all of the extra rows that it's not going to show you, it's rolling them up into an other. And then because the Search Console Looker Studio connector is clever, it adds that other back in here. It essentially calculates the differences from the total and adds the other in. And then when you export, it doesn't export the cardinal row, so you never see that, which is why your exports also will never sum up to the totals that you see in Looker Studio. So that's what's going on there, essentially. A big chunk of the data is missing. It's being rolled up in cardinality. Cardinality is where all of the rows of data past a certain point are no longer shown, and they just return other. So an example would be, suppose we had this particular data here. If we had cardinality turn up, what would happen is that at a certain point, this would just become other. This would become other here. Copy this down. This would become 4. This would become 1. And all of this would be deleted. So that's what's happening on the back end, and that's why that data is missing. And when you have a big Search Console profile, you can easily lose 40 to 50% of your data this way. Okay, so what can we do about that? That's obviously not great. So specifically here, we actually have two problems. The first problem is that when we go to our reports, ideally we'd like this number to add up to this number, because if other people come and look at our reports, this not adding up to this tends to just raise a lot of questions and cause you problems in meetings when people are very rightly like, hey, why don't these numbers add up? And you really don't want to tell them, please go watch this 8-minute video on the internet to tell me why this is happening. So that's our first problem. Our second problem is, can we gain any more of that data back? Can we avoid losing X% of our data? Now, unfortunately, this is not a simple fix. So I'm going to describe this here. We're going to have some additional videos and some additional blog posts certainly on this. And I mean, this is broadly, we also spend a bunch of time doing this as a business. So if you'd like help, and if this all sounds very scary and complicated, please reach out to us. It is the sort of thing we can help you with. But if you're just trying to solve this yourself and you're just trying to go through, let me describe the top level process. And as I said, there'll be more stuff where we'll talk through each of these in detail in the future. The first one is you're going to want to download all of your Search Console data from the API. So you're going to want to go and take it folder by folder. In the best possible world, you're going to have multiple subfolders registered. You're going to download for each of those subfolders. You're going to staple all of that together, and you're going to backfill the last 16 months, which is what it gives you. You're going to store that in a data warehouse, something like BigQuery, Redshift, pick your poison here. You're then going to enable the Search Console to BigQuery if you've chosen to use BigQuery, or if you're pulling to one of the other ones, you're just going to continue to pull down with the API. If you've enabled the Search Console to BigQuery, you're going to tie the two of these together, because the BigQuery export does not retroactively export, only the API does that. And then finally, once you've tied all of those two together, you can then build dashboards off your new base table, which is now stored in your data warehouse. At the point where you've got it to here, this bit here sounds a little bit more scary, but actually once you've got it in your data warehouse, it functions you can use it almost exactly like a Looker Studio connector. It is these four here, which really are a little bit harder and a little bit more fiddly, particularly if you're coming this not from the biggest place of technical confidence. Once you've done all those steps, at that point, you will now be in a notably better space. Firstly, you will just have more data. By downloading all of the data from the API, joining together your subfolders and joining with BigQuery, you are going to have notably more rows of data. So you'll have fixed as much of the problem of missing data as you can. It's not possible to fix all of it. You can never get all of that data back. Search Console just doesn't give it to you. Google don't provide it. But you can get more of it, and notably more than you get through the default Looker Studio connectors. You'll also finally be in a space where these numbers will add up. Fantastic. You will no longer have this silent cardinal row being added here. Your numbers will add up to the total that they should show. And you do optionally, depending on how you set it up, you do have the ability to add that cardinal row in, but explicitly show it. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a little bit of an idea about why your Search Console numbers might not match the numbers that you see in Looker Studio. Ideally, it's the first one, it's that you just got the property wrong. Probably isn't that, but if you did, congratulations, this fix is really quick and really easy. If it turns out that it is in fact a property thing, so it's property level versus site level, in that case, your numbers are right, it's just that you're comparing apples and oranges, and you need to kind of pick which one you want to pick. Primarily, we would suggest picking the URL level and setting things up in order to allow that. The final option, if it is in fact the cardinality and the sampling side of things, then you're definitely in for a bit more work. You won't be able to fix that just by using the default connector, and you'll have to tackle that typically in some of the other ways we've described, where you essentially download all of the data and then use that as the true source of it. If you'd like help with that, please get in touch with us. That's what we do every day. We're a small remote team over here at Piped Out, and we essentially help SEO and marketing teams get a handle on all that data and solve some of these data problems for you. But if you're just looking to get this solved yourself, hopefully this video has been helpful, and yes, we'll see you next time.